Hi, Kit with you, Flower Duet, and I'm going to show you how to make this really easy and simple hat box using a gift box. First of all, we have a gift box from Target, so it's much cheaper than buying a hat box from the floral supply place, but you have to line it with your own liners. I have a plastic liner in here. You could use a bowl, and then I have a large design brick that I've carved down into a circle. You could use 2 bricks of foam on their side and cut it to fit. Now, instead of trying to put the top like this, which I could do if I wanted to, I think I want it to be more open. So I'm just going to put the top underneath. Also, the bottom of this box has some dents in it. So now I have a cute decorative box and I'm ready to go. I've already pre-soaked the foam, and I think what I want to do is have a nice collar of greenery just sort of peeking out over the lip of the vase. So I'm just going to start with my Ruscus, placing it in. Obviously 10 seconds rule applies. So after you cut it, 10 seconds, placing it in. And you can see I'm letting just about an inch or so of the stem going deep into the side of the foam, so that my leaves are just peeking out over the lip of the hat box or the gift box. Now, if I have leaves like this that are too close, I've got to take those off so I have at least an inch of free stem to go in. Remember, you never want to have any leaves going into the vase of waterline of the vase, or in this case, into the foam. You always want to have a nice open stem. Now, some of these I can see I'm not quite reaching the lip of the vase, so I will go back and fix that. But right now what I'm trying to do is hide the fact that I have a big block of foam in here and a plastic liner. So I'm going around the lip and hiding that. Basically just making a whole collar of greenery. Oops, I want to get lower. Okay, so anywhere I didn't quite come up high enough, I'm going to go back around, get that lip of my vase, so that all the way around I have greenery about the same height. So if I don't have any greenery that's kind of spilling over, like here, I barely have it. So I'm going to go in here and place that as low as I can, but still have it coming over. Here, I need some to spill over here. And I want to make sure I don't see the cut tips of the greenery either. I want to make sure that the tip here is hidden below the vase line. Because what I'm going to do next is I'm going to add a collar of Waxflower. So let's go ahead and do that. 1 bunch of Waxflower. This is the season. It's a great time of year to buy Waxflower. So 1 stem looks like this. So what we want to use is just these little tips, like so. And I want to go right around the corner like I did, and these are going to help me cover up any of those cut pieces that I don't want to show. So I have little bits of short and tall Waxflower. Let's just start with going maybe every other, and then we can fill in from there. I don't want this to take all day or a lot of material. I want to see how little material I can get away with. But we're going to start with a collar of this, and then what I might do is, once I add my roses, I might end up going back and adding, instead of having it just all roses, I'm going to probably put in some Waxflower in the middle, so that I don't have to use quite as many roses, but it will still look very lush and expensive. Because that's what these hat boxes are. They're expensive, flower arrangements because they're so precise. All right, so that's cute, but I think that's one stem. I think I want to use a few more, so I'm going to keep going. And I am going to add a few more that kind of come maybe a little farther out. So it kind of joins the collar so that it's not inside the collar, but it kind of is like part of the collar. Does that make sense? So I'm going outside that greenery that I added on a few parts of this, maybe 5 sections. I'm going to go outside the box so that it doesn't look so stiff. I like a little bit of whimsy. Maybe I need one more over here. So I'm going a little bit, so I'm going to come outside this leaf. That leaf actually is a little out of control. I'm going to cut that. My roses are already cleaned, but basically the bottom line is you don't want any leaves that are going to be going into the foam on the stem. You want to take those off. Always leave these on, these green pits. And you can take off any cushion petals that aren't perfect, but you know, the more you take off, the smaller the rose gets, so don't take off too many. So what I want to do is I want to go out around the outer edge first and then fill in. So instead of packing these really tight, here's what I want to do. I want to see how high up I want to come. Probably don't need it to be quite that big. So let's see where we're going with this. So I cut the stem to be about as long as my hand. So about that long, from the head of the rose to the bottom of the stem. So if I were to measure again, from the head of my rose to here, so I'm going to cut it right around there. Don't ever cut near your wrist. Always move your hand away. And I want to make sure I go down into the foam as straight as I can. If the rose is going to cooperate with me, I don't know if it will or not. Let's try this. Let's go out a little bit. I have greenery, so I'm only going to cut about that much greenery and only at the top of the tip. And when I place it in, it's going to go in between those middle roses so that it barely kind of comes up. It's not going to come up above the rose. So it's going to be pretty short, and just fill in some of those gaps where I see floral foam. I'm going to fill in more of those gaps with Waxflower next, but the greenery, if I put it in the middle, then it's nice because it breaks up some of the roses, covers up the floral foam, and it carries the theme through. So I have the greenery around the collar or around the lip of the container. And now if I've added greenery in the middle, it looks like all the greenery was supposed to be there around the outer edge. If it's just around the outer edge, it looks a little too formal, and this is not going to be a formal design. This is going to be kind of whimsical. So I need to keep it going with whimsical. Otherwise, I'll need more. I would have to use more roses, and I don't want to. Now I have all this Waxflower on the outer edge, but I need to add it in the middle. So I'm going to take pieces of Waxflower, and again, not too long. The thing that's great about Waxflower is the stem's really stiff, so I should be able to just pop it in easily in between all these roses and the greenery. And I am going to try to put Waxflower in between every rose so that you see every rose individually for its own merit. So to do that, you have to add it throughout. So sometimes you have to separate the flowers with your other hand so you can slide in that wax flower, and you need to make sure that it gets into the floral foam. My rule about ribbon is if you're going to add it, you want to add nice ribbon. This is like a silk ribbon that looks nice on both sides. It's wired so you'll be able to manipulate it, and it's going to look really nice when it's finished. So this is about a little over 3 yards of ribbon. So how I start a bow is I start by curling around so I have a nice round like circle a couple times around. Then I start with making my loops. So this isn't a huge container, so I don't want to have a giant bow. So I make 2 loops that are about the same size on either side. And then I make 2 more loops, and I can make them slightly larger. And then 2 more. And 2 more. So it's a nice luxurious looking ribbon. Now I need the tails. So I don't need quite this much ribbon. So I'm going to grab my scissors. Okay, I got my tiny scissors here. So I don't need quite this much ribbon. I don't need this much ribbon to make tails with. So I'm going to cut some of this off for now. I can trim that up in a second. So now what I do is I take this last bit of ribbon and I loop a big loop. Then I take some nice straight wire, make a hairpin like so, place it into here until it's facing down like this through. Now before I push it together and twist it, I've got to put all this ribbon, I got to pinch all the ribbon so it's narrow. So I'm pinching it like so. Then, as close as I can get my hands up there, I twist to secure. So now I have my bow, and to get the tails, take the ends. I don't know how long I'm going to want them, so I'm just going to cut it just to separate them. And then that other bit. Trim that. I can make that neater later. Okay, so now I have my bow, right? And I have wired ribbon, so I can start to zhuzh it. So what I want to do is take all my different loops and pull them apart. And then once you pull them apart, then you can fluff them out. See how the wire really helps, and the shininess of this ribbon is so luxurious looking. Really adds a nice luxury feel. And it's nicer than like velvet or something that just kind of flops in a vase. Kind of like the wired part. Okay, so now this is gonna go where I had that hole. So right there. And then you can have your little card that goes right above the bow. So how does this go into the container? Well, it's got really stiff ribbon, so I could just twist the ribbon on itself and place it in there, or I can take it and attach it to any kind of skewer. So this is a bamboo skewer, or actually I think it's a chopstick. Oh no, it's a bamboo skewer. Just wrap it around so that I can manipulate it later. I don't need quite this much length on it, so I'll use my cutters. Place it in, and then zhuzh my bow. Now that it's in place, I can pull it apart so I have everything I need. I can start playing around with that. And that's where I'm going to take better scissors and then cut this so it's not dragging on the table. I'll just keep zhuzhing it around and then you'll see it when I'm done. So I'm just cutting my ribbon, making sure that it's not too long, but it looks pretty. Got my fabric scissors. You should always have a pair of fabric scissors, things that you only use for cutting fabric, not any sort of paper or anything. So I'll probably adjust this when I take a picture of it, but basically that's it. Thanks for joining me, Kit Wertz with Flower Duet.